And we've had, like you said, Joe, unexpected but amazing successes. So I kind of wanted to take everybody back to the inception. How did we get here? And we got here, the viewers of Lights On will be familiar with a sentiment that I have shared many times, which is I kind of had an existential crisis in 2017 as my statute of limitations was about to run out for possible employment claims and defamation claims that I would be able to raise against the Trump campaign. I had had a nightmarish, I've accurately described as a reign of terror working on this campaign. And walked away from it living under a dark cloud, very much wanting to put this behind me and, correct my own errors and mistakes and having worked for the campaign in the first place. And in the midst of this existential crisis, I came to the conclusion that I couldn't do that. I couldn't live with myself if I walked away. And so this entire legal battle started with me filing a pro se human rights and defamation lawsuit against the Trump campaign in November of 2017. And I had no idea where this was going to take me, except that I knew I was doing the right thing. And I had faith in that God-directed action that I took, that would sustain me. And the first thing that happened right out of the gate, and this became a trend on Christmas Eve or the eve of Christmas Eve, the Trump campaign filed a $1.5 million arbitration demand against me for having allegedly violated the NDA by filing that human rights lawsuit. At this point, I was still desperately trying to find a legal team, had not even served papers on the campaign, and was obviously terrified, but also realizing that I had to address this. And instead of entering into that arbitration that they proposed that I did, they also proposed that I just, say thank you for giving me a little motion to dismiss to sign off on. I'll gladly just dismiss my lawsuit in court and step into your arbitration. Of course, I didn't do that. And over the next couple of months, I kind of thought about how wrong this had to be, how illegal it had to be. I didn't understand all of the reasons why quite yet, but I knew that I had to handle it proactively. And so the next step I took, rather than entering their arbitration, which might have been a fool's errand from a legal perspective at that point, was I filed another pro se lawsuit in March of 2018 to void this non-disclosure agreement. And in that process, I went to court pro se in state court. That was a federal case. I went to court in state court pro se and won a very significant victory that kept my claims out of arbitration because they used the NDA to try to force my human rights claims, not necessarily the sex discrimination claims, but the related common law claims like defamation and, emotional distress, other claims that were related to my case, they tried to force into arbitration. And as a pro se litigant, I went and argued against the campaign lawyers and got that successfully kept out of arbitration. But the initial NDA lawsuit I was not successful in keeping that out of arbitration because of a very clear arbitration clause in the agreement that says matters relating to this agreement must be arbitrated. So we're going to fast forward a little to the point where I met David. And as he mentioned, it's almost 5 years to this day that I retained him. And right before I retained David and Mari, in their arbitration that they had brought against me, the $1.5 million one, and my subsequent NDA lawsuit that was forced into arbitration that I didn't participate in, they succeeded in getting what would become a $50,000 arbitration award and judgment against me. So I want to take this moment. I mean, I met David, and David had such a positive spirit about tackling this NDA too. He wasn't satisfied to say, we're just going to handle your employment discrimination claims. He was all on board for invalidating this NDA. And him and Mari took on my case at a low when I had this arbitration award entered against me. And maybe, David, you can just pick up from here and talk about